I asked for directions, and this guy gave me directions. And I noticed in his hand he had a knife, and he had the knife out, and that knife was about this long.
He came up to me and he said, "Let me see your license." And then he spit at my feet, and it landed like 1 inch from my shoe. I mean, it felt like he was saying, "Motherfucker, make a move."
I was the only white boy there. I was the only white boy there. Got beat up and got it taken away. Got beat up and got it taken away.
Oh, you look more white than we do. I mean, look more white, but no way do I cross that line.
The fear is still there because I know it can happen. Because it has happened, not to me, but to people who look just like me.
Another woman in the laundromat at another time came up to me with a $10 bill and waved it in front of me. She said, "Change, change," and she was enunciating very carefully.
We always did with you, baby. Always. Every day. And the ride up here is, oh man, where are we now? Oh, God. I hate being out of the city because I know who's out here. You are.
You block your progress.
I block my own progress.
You know, as I look around this room, I realize, you know, the connection is really me, because I actually know each one of you in a very special way. Some of you I just met, actually. Each of you were picked very particularly, and it took time to do that. Each of you were picked for your honesty and for your directness and for your sincerity and for the work that you do, too, on yourself. And that's why I really wanted to have you on film. And your ethnicity?
I am American. Generations back, we came from England and Denmark. But mostly when they got into America here, whatever happened, we got mixed up. So I'm American. White American, I guess.
My father is Mexican. My mother is Irish.
African and in some ways back Cherokee descent.
I'm a third-generation Japanese American man.
I'm at least seventh generation Euro-American. My family is, on both sides, is Scot, and on my father's side is also English and German.
I'm Mexican. I'm Latino, I'm Mexican. I'm Mexican-American, I'm Chicano.
I am Chinese, and I'm Chinese-American.
I am an American also. I am an all-American man. And the reason I say that is that I was born here, educated here, and that makes me American.
But I do always want to be identified as African American or black, not just an American. The reason why I'm here, and I'm glad to be here, is because I have a lot of anger, and this is a positive outlet for that anger. I could do a lot of destructive things, but that wouldn't be productive whatsoever.
I'm here because I'm a racist, and I've been working at unlearning that since '76, and I've still got it. And there's a lot of pain around that.
And I'm nervous about being here because I don't know what's going to happen. I think one of the ways I've survived racism is to be in complete control, and I'm not in complete control here. So I'm a little worried about that. And I'm just, tripping on the, walking in here and seeing who was here. I didn't expect white men to be here.
I'm a local boy, grown, raised right here in this small community. And when the subject of racism was mentioned to me, I found it extremely exciting because I grew up in this area with friends of all races. And we would read in the news, see on the television of racial struggles in other areas and could not comprehend how that could be, and why they had to cause struggle and strife for each other. Why couldn't they be just like at home, happy and productive together? And I don't think that anybody should be any less than another. I grew up in this area right alongside the Native Americans. And some of them to this day are my dearest friends, and I like their cultures, yes. And I even seek after artifacts from their history, but there's no struggle or strife if we don't cause it.
In Chinese, you know, the word American really means white to us. And that's why today I actually will not use the word American either, because I do believe that it really does not incorporate all of us. That there really still is not that political, social, and economic equality. And when that day comes, I'll be the first to stand up and say, I'm an American, and stand with everyone. But until I feel that, I think that I'll always feel like I have to say Chinese so that people know who I am.
3 years ago, I went to Japan. I said, gotta go find my roots. I'm gonna find out who I really am. Apply for the passport, filling out the things, and nationality says American. I said to my wife, I can't put down American. I'm not American. She says, yeah, you're American. You gotta put down American. I said, I'm Japanese. You're not Japanese, you're American. And I said, I can't do that. I've never in my life claimed myself to me. And it just like, I said, well, I'm gonna put Japanese down. He said, you're not from Japan. You know, you were born here, you're an American. And it just, I was just blown away by, you know, for the first time I had to put that down. Otherwise it would have been rejected and I had no choice in that.
Do you think that we don't get excited as Americans when you say you are something other than just American? I got excited when Manoir said to us, he is Chinese American. Why can't he be just American and excited about being just American like David is?
But wait a minute, I just...
You know, he calls himself an American.
But I'm doing that for a very specific purpose.
Okay.
I'm doing it because I'm turning my identity as American to fight against the white supremacist notion that only white people merit the status of the title of American.
Well, I agree with that. I don't think we do.
I refuse to be segregated or to be allocated to a lower status by not being recognized as an American.
I like that attitude, and I think that's a correct and proper attitude. Whereas
But I'm also Chinese.
Yes.
I'm very proud of that. And for a person to look at me and say, for a white person to look at me and say, you're just like me, we're both American, totally insults me because it denies my identity as a Chinese person, too.
I feel in the sense that I have a claim to be American in ways that you don't, because my people came from this continent. My ancestors came across the Bering Strait from Asia and came down the coast and on into central Mexico. And others of my ancestors came from Arabia, through Egypt, through North Africa, and into Spain. And then they all melted together in central Mexico. America is not the United States. America is the entire continent. But we think here, or Americans here think that America means just this country. And so I feel like I have, you know, I've been kind of, I don't want to say I have, because I don't feel it like that, but my people, the people that I come from, have been sort of robbed of that term. We're not Americans, even though we are. And I don't know where that came from. I don't know where that came from, but you know, when you say, you know, I wish you would be American, or you would all agree to be American, you know what is presented to me as an American does not look like me, does not think like me, does not smell like me, does not cry like me, does not play like me. So for me to say that, to use that as my primary identification, For me, it means to deny nearly all of me.
I worked in corporate America for a while, and now when I see guys walking down the street in a suit and tie, I'm like, phew, I bet he can't wait to go home and become a black man again. You know? Because you're not allowed to be a black man in corporate America. Walk through some halls with some pride, you're going to scare some people. Show that you have some intelligence, you scare people. You got to shuffle. It's a 1993 shuffle, but it's still a shuffle.
You give us a hard time for being white, and being American, and being in control. I've never felt in control. I had vineyards and pear orchards for many years, and I employed many of your people, if you wish to call them that. They're my dear friends. To me, they are friends equal to any that I would have. And I greet them. And now they come into my business and they just want to come in and say hi and talk to me.
There's something different that's happened. What's different that's happened for us, and I'm speaking as a people, borders on genocide, takeover, colonization. You know what happens to me when I pass a mission? You know, it's not the same thing that happens to every group that passes a mission. There's something different. When I hear Father Unipero Serra, what do you think I think of? You know, it's not...
Conquistador.
It's chopping off hands,
Sure.
It's slavery, I mean, you know, that's what's different. And it gets tiring to not have that difference known. It gets tiring to not have that difference acknowledged and to have to keep talking about it. That's what gets tiring.
So I see here an attitude expressed by Utaka and by Roberto that says, how can I be an American? I can't. And so I won't. I'm going to cling to my heritage. Is this clinging the problem? Is this belief that you cannot become American the problem? For years I've said, why do these guys have such a problem being a color? Why can't they just be individuals and go out and make a place for themselves? And I hear you saying that we whites don't allow that, that we keep you down. Why aren't we just humans? I mean, why aren't we just brothers?
There's a certain sort of silent consciousness about what it means to be American that I sense coming from white folks that I'd like to talk about. Before I do that, I'd like to say one more thing that's hard about talking about racism, and that is that you know, people of color are spilling their guts and doing education to white people. Let me explain to you how you've got this wrong. Let me explain to you how you've got that wrong. Let me explain, and then we get cross-examined, and it's like, well, maybe your problem is blah, 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 blah. And it's always, you know, racism gets looked at as a person of color's problem, and it's not. You know, we're like on the receiving end of the problem, but we're not the problem. You know, I walk in a world where black people, where Latinos, where Asians, where Arabs, all these different people are experienced as problem people, and that, well, we're going to deal with the person of color problem when in fact racism is essentially a white problem. And that for you to understand what racism is about, you're going to be so uncomfortable. You're going to be so different from who you see yourself to be now that you know, there's just no way for you to get it from where you're sitting. And I'm not saying that you could never get it. I mean that that you need to step outside of your skin and step outside of what seems really comfortable and familiar to you and launch out into some real, for you, unknown territory. And you haven't gone out there like you haven't, you know, gotten in proximity to black people, as you say, because you don't have to. And that's part of what it means to be American, to me, is to have all these things that you can do if you want to, that you don't have to do if you don't want to do. And there's a way in which American and white and human become synonyms. That why can't we just treat each other as human beings? To me, when I hear it from a white person, it means why can't we all just pretend to be white people? I'll pretend you're a white person, and then you can pretend to be white. Why don't you eat what I eat? Why don't you drink what I drink? Why don't you think like I think? Why don't you feel like I feel? God damn it, I'm so sick and goddamn tired of hearing about that. I'm sick of that. That's what it means to be human being to me. That's what it means to be white. That's what it means to be American. Why don't you come the hell over here? That's what I hear every goddamn day. And you know that I can't come over there. You know that this skin and that this hair and that this way that I talk and that I think and I feel will never, ever get included because I'm unpalatable to this goddamn nation. I'm unpalatable. You cannot swallow me. You cannot taste me. You cannot feel me because you don't want to. You think that you can survive without me, but you can't, man. You think that, hey, it'll all be fine when we just treat each other like human beings. And what that says to me is don't be yourself. Be like me. Keep me comfortable. Connect where I'm ready to connect. Come out to my place. Or maybe I'll come down and get some artifacts from your place. That is bullshit. When you say that your ethnicity is American, there is no American ethnicity. You had to throw away your ethnicity to become American. That's what it means. That's what it means. You give up who you are to become American. And you can pretend that it's okay because you're white. When we give up who we are to become American, we know that we're dying from it. You're dying from it too, but you don't know it necessarily. Get ethnic, you know? You know, I'm not going to trust you until you're as willing to be changed and affected by my experience and transformed by my experience as I am every day by yours. I attended a school for the first time that was predominantly white, and I had white teachers. And I walked into the classroom, and there were 3 reading groups in my 5th grade classroom, and I was promptly put into the lowest reading group. And I gathered very quickly that that was because I'm of African and American descent. Then they put me into the intermediate reading group, and then they put me into the highest reading group, and you know, I just boiled and churned through the whole process because my reading level was higher than anything they had in the classroom. I'm always dealing with you. I'm always dealing with you. You don't deal with him. You don't deal with me. Maybe you had an opportunity to deal with some Latino people. Well, we always deal with you, baby. Always. Every day. And the ride up here, it's like, oh, man, where are we now? Oh, God. I hate being out of the city because I know who's out here. You all. Or at least I know who's in charge. Even if there's other people out here, I know who's in charge. And I don't know anywhere where I can find some safety that I can rely upon when I'm out here. You know, I'm real glad I got to the house before sundown.
Yeah. This is like shark-infested waters.
Really?
Yes, definitely. Yes. It doesn't have to be said, it can be felt. It's intuitive. It's hard to explain to somebody who doesn't have to go through it. But, you know, I've traveled down south. And, you know, just that feeling, like you said, you get, you know, drive through Kentucky and Tennessee and see the Appalachian Mountains up ahead of you. And know you want to get through those mountains so fast without stopping for anything because you don't know if you'll get out.
Driving through Ukiah,
Yeah.
a big pickup was behind me
Right.
with a gun rack on the
Right.
back, you know. I was nervous. And I've never been hurt by somebody on the freeway with a gun rack, you know. That's never happened to me, but the fear is still there. The fear is still there because I know it can happen. I know it can happen because it has happened, not to me, but to people who look just like me or who don't look just like me.
I've got the fear. I don't want to stop. I don't want to be out on a road around here. I tell you, it's scary with the gun racks. I've done workshops.
You know what the gun racks are all about?
Can I
Sure,
finish?
go ahead.
Because it's my experience. I don't feel safe with those people. And that's a stereotype about me and people that have gun racks and pickup trucks. But I used to do a workshop in this area a little further east from here called the Mail Experience. And I had 7 shotgun holes through the sign that I had out on the road and picked up the shells and I still got them. I can't feel what I know Victor feels up here, but I got a piece of it because it's just scary and I don't know how to deal with it.
When my father hit Texas, he never stopped. He went straight through Texas. We didn't stop. Well, we must have stopped for food. I can't believe that, but I don't remember stopping. I know we didn't stop to sleep. I mean, it's like he wanted to get out of that state as fast as he could.
I had no comprehension, and especially from you Latinos, that you are frightened to come up Highway 101. That is, in my opinion,
No,
unfounded.
I'm not.
An unfounded fear and apprehension on your parts.
Unfounded. There's that word.
This valley is
again.
not hostile to Latinos.
How can you say that? You're not Latino.
No, it's not hostile to Latinos.
Can I just, I need to.
And Victor and Lauren here are expressing feelings that I'm afraid with these feelings there will be no progress and no change in racism. The fear of color will remain. The gap isn't being bridged here.
I thought Victor explained that very clearly, that we've changed as far as we're going to
Yeah,
change.
and you're expecting a change from the white person.
Exactly.
And I'm saying to you, you're the same as I am, and you don't believe that. And I think that really may be more predominant than you think. But what about guys like Colin Powell? You know, I mean, why do you laugh about that?
I'm not laughing.
He
I
made
think
it.
it's a serious issue. He did make it, but what did he make?
There are many professors in the California college system that are colored, and they're respected and,
Colored.
well, Afro-American, Chinese, Latino, what do you want me to do? Let's lump it all together in one term. Colored. I'm colored. I'm white. You called me white, and I'm colored.
Let's go back to Colin Powell. Colin Powell's responsible for killing.
This is emotional, and this is totally normal, and to be so emotional about this topic. And I think I feel a lot of frustration here, David, and I think you have to listen to our experiences because they're valid.
I believe that.
Well,
They
I don't
are
think you
valid
do
for David.
because, let me tell you why I don't think you do. It sounds like you're bouncing it back to them and saying, it's your problem, why do you guys act like this? You
Okay.
guys can drive down the street, down, Highway 101 up here.
And I can go to
Haven't you-
Chinatown
Well, listen to me.
and be frightened to death.
Well, listen to me. When I drove
And
up
I do
to,
get frightened.
you gotta listen to me. When I drive up Highway 101, I didn't feel quite comfortable either.
Really? Oh.
No, but let me tell you my experience, where I'm coming from. I went to high school in an all-white environment. I was the only person of color in my high school. I resented being Asian because I wasn't white. This kind of racism is in place so that people don't even think about it. It just happens. I just feel left out. When I stand in line in a counter to be served, to buy something, and the white person who comes after me gets served first, is not done on purpose. It's because the person doesn't see me. I'm invisible to that white person, to the clerk. You see? I'm invisible. That happens to me.
I was talking to some friends in a restaurant, got the same thing as you, Dave, but they started asking me to get their food, to order their food, They started ordering and looking up at me, It's this insidious thing that you deal with daily. Every day I go to a professional workshop. Oh, don't I know you? I met you at the last one. Every fucking time. If not once, several times. Every time, no one recognizes. We all look alike, right? And this is this continual thing, continual. Even, I took your comment out of naivete earlier when you said, well, you don't look Japanese. I'm not sure what you look like, But this happens. It's just in the air that you breathe. And all these things seem like doors to shut you out from something.
What I see from white people generally is they don't talk about themselves as white people. They talk about themselves as human beings, as if it means the same thing. Now, what I want to know is what it means to be white. Not what it means to be a human being, because we already know that you're a human being, and we can already relate to the universal human experience. What is the white experience? When I look at you manifesting your white experience, I also see you not naming it. I see you wanting to blur the distinctions between just being a person and also, most particularly, being a white person and what that means. And I think that part of what it means to be white is it means never having to say you're sorry, but it also means never having to admit that to be white means something different than to be a person of color. And that there is an experience that you have that is very different from what the experience of people of color is.
I'm sure that there were many times that I felt that people of color were being mistreated. Probably when I was in my late teens, going down to basically black areas and seeing the cops around a lot. We'd go down there and dance and see the police around. But I don't think there was a lot of awareness. It was more just a numbness. It doesn't happen to me. It doesn't happen in my area. And so, that's somebody else's problem.
I never consider myself, as you do, a part of an ethnic group. I think that's what you're looking for, and you're not going to find that among us because we don't look at ourselves as an ethnic group.
Do you know that that means something?
I don't know what it means.
I'm telling you that that means something.
I'm trying to answer your question, Victor, and as you were asking that question, I'm saying, well, gosh, I never considered myself part of a white group.
I just wonder, doesn't it seem kind of deep to you that you don't have an answer to that question? Do you have any notion that the fact that you have no answer to that could actually be a source of meaning, experience, or knowledge?
The opposite is how I feel about you, Victor, that you have no comprehension that the world is open to you. You think that the white man is a block and a dam to your progress, and he is not. I think you put up that dam and that block yourself in your regard to the white man.
See, I think that's one of the major problems with racism. I think he did answer the question.
Yeah.
As a white man, he doesn't have to think about his position in life, his place in the world. The history books tell him, as they are written, that this world is his. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to think about, where he goes, what he does. He doesn't have to think like a white person. The way the world has been set up, America in particular, white is human.
White is a human being.
Right. That's what a human being is. So he doesn't have to worry about how do I think like a white person. That does I don't know, but I would assume that doesn't enter a white person's mind because they don't have to deal with that from day one. They step into a world that is theirs.
Yeah.
So he has.
It's a good question.
Yeah, it was an excellent question.
I need to respond to your saying that, that I create my own racial predicament by my thinking and my attitudes.
You block your progress
I block my own progress.
by allowing your attitude toward the white man to limit you.
I think the police limit me. I think that white supremacy has placed limitations on where I can go and what I can do, but I don't think that I cause my own predicament under white supremacy. And by white supremacy, I don't mean neo-Nazis, and I don't mean Klan, because I'm terrified of those people on an interpersonal basis. Institutionally, not terribly much, because most of the lethal, toxic, deadly racism that African American people experience and that other people of color experience in this country does not come from them. It comes from moral, fair-minded people who believe that they are lovers of justice, churchgoers, people who experience themselves as decent and actually very nice folk. And it is there that I find my fear. Back to the question of what it means to be white. I think what it means to be white, in part, is that you have the privilege of blaming people of color for their own victimization under white supremacy. I've heard you say that to me. I've heard you say that to him. I've heard you say that to him. I've heard you say it to him. I've heard you say it to every person of color in the room who challenged your perception of yourself in the world. That is part of what it means to be white.
Maybe that's part of the answer, that we feel that the field is wide open, and each man can stand on his own.
No. Each man does not stand on his own. Some men stand on other men and other women. Light-skinned men, men from Europe, stand on the heads and the parts of men and women and children of color. That is, and of course, you also stand on the heads of white women. But no, it's not a question of every man standing on his own ground. All of the ground, damn near, of this planet has been taken from almost all of the people of color on this planet. You know, Australia was a black continent. Africa was a black continent. And if the people themselves were not taken from Africa, then everything of value was taken from Africa, to the extent that that was possible. North America was a red continent. South America was a red continent. You are not standing on your own ground. You're standing on red ground. And that's what it means to be white. To say that you're standing on your own ground and standing on somebody else's. And then mystify the whole process so it seems like you're not doing that.
White. Why is